But just because of his mood of love and service, Maharaj captures everyone's heart. And it's because he genuinely wishes only to serve the Vaishnavas. And I think and from that exchange with the disciples that happened a few weeks ago, I think there's so much for us to learn about what it means to be a disciple. And it's very interesting because sometimes we have this idea that service, that some people serve Maharaj and then some of us do not. But what does it really mean to serve him, and what is it that pleases him? I've seen over the years that sometimes I do something and I think it's really quite wonderful, and Maharaj is not at all impressed. He hardly notices it. But the times that he's really pleased, it's really interesting. It's never the moments that I think I expect him to be pleased. When we were in Rome just a couple of weeks ago, it was something, just very small. But he said to me, "You're always trying to help devotees." And by this he meant just small, practical helping. But he said, "You're always trying to help devotees. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud that you try to help devotees, that you try to help others." And that was something that was so much more important to him than anything administrative or whatever else it might be. But that's what matters to him. And he said it with so much appreciation and affection. Something so small that any of us can do, but that's what captures his heart. Just the little things, just extending ourselves, being available. And also when we do that, we give strength to our spiritual master, as he said, by earning the blessings of the Vaishnavas, but also because we're taking up some of his responsibility. The Guru has the responsibility of caring for his disciples. The Sadhu has a responsibility for caring for all of society, but one person can only do so much. And when we've taken initiation, we've received so much, but we also have a responsibility to give. It says in the Bible, where much is given, much is expected. So we have received so much, but in return, we can also give. We can also give that same mood of helping, of caring, of supporting. We can support each other. We can, sometimes devotees say, "But I have so much happening, I'm going through difficulty, I need to speak to Maharaj about this." It's not possible. It's not possible when you have thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people depending on you, but we're all here for each other. We're all here and we can offer that support and care, and it starts with having relationships that are based on love and trust. Why do we want to speak with Maharaj? Because we trust him. Because we know without a doubt he's our well-wisher and he wants what's best for us. But why not have that same mood towards each other? Why not try ourselves to follow in his footsteps and have the same mood of being a well-wishing friend and servant to each other? Because that not only relieves some of the responsibility that he feels to take care of us, but it also pleases him so much to see that we want to serve and we want to love. That was my main meditation today. I was thinking about this as I was coming here. And just thinking about how much Maharaj gives, actually, in so many ways. I was just remembering that years ago, once Maharaj gave a class, a 3-hour class, Bhagavatam class, in one temple. And after the class, a devotee came to him and said, "Maharaj, please give me your blessings." And Maharaj looked at him very confused and he said, "What do you think I have been doing for the last 3 hours?" And Maharaj really puts his heart and his soul, he puts everything into his lectures. He puts everything into those lectures. And so many of you have shared with me how when you have some questions, when you have some confusions, the answer comes through his lectures. It's always there. If we pray sincerely, Krishna always provides us just what we need. And Maharaj has given everything we need. And sometimes, once his health was quite bad, he had a fever and he was meant to speak. And I said, "Maharaj, we should cancel the class." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you're not well, so we should cancel it because you need to reserve your energy." He said, "But speaking about Krishna is what gives me energy. If I'm sick, I should go and give class. I should go and speak about Krishna and then I'll feel better." But we can really take advantage we can really very sincerely hear. Maharaj every single day listens to Srila Prabhupada. Every day, without fail, he listens to Srila Prabhupada, and every day he will share something. Right, Raj Mohan, he'll always say, today I heard Srila Prabhupada say this, and every day it's something, and every day there's a realization. He doesn't just listen, but he's meditating deeply every day on Srila Prabhupada's words. And so often he will say, oh, like Srila Prabhupada said this, and because of this I've gotten, like as an instruction almost. Like recently Maharaj said, just a couple of weeks ago, he said, I was listening to Srila Prabhupada this morning, and Maharaj will always remember, the class was given on this day, in this place. I mean, he really listens to Srila Prabhupada. And I was listening to this class, I don't remember what he said, this class given on this day, in this place. And he said, Srila Prabhupada said in the class, now I am 73 years old. I am at the fag end of my life. And Maharaj said, I realized, oh, I'm going to be 73 in a few months. I'm also at the fag end of my life. And he was expressing how important it is to become serious in our spiritual life. But we can all make that commitment of every day hearing Srila Prabhupada, of every day hearing Maharaj, and hearing with attention, and hearing with the intent of receiving those blessings that he's giving in his classes. Of really receiving it, of really accepting it, of accepting the gifts that he's trying to give us. We can do that by supporting each other, by offering service to each other. We can do that by being serious in our sadhana. Because when the disciples are strict and sincere in their spiritual practice, they're giving strength to their guru. The guru is receiving strength from that. But when we're weak in our practices, it weakens him. It takes away his strength because he has to carry the burden of our karma. Good or bad, he carries it for us. And so we can say so much that, I love my spiritual master, but how is that love shown? That love is shown through our commitment. It's shown through our commitment to the vows that we made. It's shown through our commitment to follow his mood, to follow his instructions. Sometimes devotees say, oh, I need some instructions from Maharaj. But he's given so many instructions that I don't know if, at least for myself, I don't know if I will ever be able to follow them. I struggle to follow, like last year when he gave initiation in Villa Vrindavan. Does anyone remember the first thing he said in that lecture, initiation lecture? He started by saying, the first step on the path of bhakti is humility. You cannot take one step on the path of Krishna consciousness until you become humble. It's a long journey. But first we have to become humble just to take the first step. What to speak of all the instructions, all of the steps that come after that. And Maharaj exemplifies this. He exemplifies this. He sits down and chants his japa. Sri Gauranga Prabhu is saying how sometimes when Maharaj chants, you see he forgets that there's anyone else in the room. And then you see his absorption in the holy name. You see he sits and chants his 16 rounds with full focused attention. And how wonderful it is that we can even hear the chanting of such an exalted Vaishnava. I was thinking in the Kirtan last night, and I often reflect on that in Kirtans, that this is Shuddha Nam. Krishna is actually present. When Maharaj is chanting, Krishna is in his self-same form present with us. What an extraordinary experience that we can actually hear and absorb Krishna's name coming from the mouth of an exalted Vaishnava. That we can beg for that holy name to enter our hearts. What a blessing that we're receiving. And in reciprocation, Maharaj doesn't really ask very much. He asks for us to be serious in our own spiritual life and to take care of each other. And we are all so fortunate. Sometimes we may feel that obviously we want more and more of Maharaj's association. We always want more. It's never enough. But what we have is extraordinary. What we have is so extraordinary. Last year, Maharaj said in London, we had a disciples meeting. And he said to the disciples, he said, Srila Prabhupada was very guarded about who he allowed into his inner circle. And it was very few devotees who could personally associate with Srila Prabhupada or even be near him. He said, but with that opportunity came a responsibility. And the responsibility was that they had to then share Srila Prabhupada with everyone else. And he said, because of those devotees, every single one of us, even today, feel that we have a personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada. We feel like we know Srila Prabhupada. And all of us here, every single one of us, we have this opportunity to be so close to Maharaj, to hear him speak directly, to participate in his kirtans, to watch him interact with others. And with that comes that responsibility to then carry that mood, to carry the instructions we hear, to share them with each other. And that's something that we can all do anytime. And I think here it would be nice if we do that, if we all take the opportunity to share. There's so many devotees here who have so much association with Maharaj, who have for so many years dedicated themselves to following his instructions and following his example. And I think it would be very nice to hear from some of them. Is there anyone who would like to start sharing something? Otherwise, I will request some devotees to share. Would anyone like, Prabhu, would you like to share something?
Sometimes we know what Maharaj expects of us and what he wants from us. Yesterday I felt after the lecture that there's so many devotees, so the best I can do is just to disappear, to not take away his time. But then, at the same time, we're often sentimental. We still want that glance, that attention, that hug, and like you're saying, and then sometimes Maharaj gives it to us, and not because, because he sees that we need it. So maybe you could share something about, how we can find, the inner conviction and strength to become a disciple that actually takes burden from Maharaj and not gives burden to him.
Actually, I think Maharaj spoke on this beautifully yesterday. He was sharing how the Goswamis, they just wanted to give, right? They just wanted to give to their worshipable Lord, and they were tormented. They were so heartbroken when Radharani and Krishna came to serve them. They weren't thinking, oh, Maharaj said, right? They weren't thinking, oh, this is so nice. They were feeling embarrassed and ashamed. And that's the highest, but it's true, we're sentimental. We're not on that platform. We're not selfless. But I think what it really comes down to is a little maturity in understanding that the reciprocation comes from the heart. So when there is, we all know, because Maharaj is very sensitive, he's an empathic person, and he senses when someone is in need. Like he was not meant to come to the temple until yesterday. He had a meeting the day before, and so it went quite late, and then he was supposed to rest, and then come the next day to the temple. And I think he could really sense that all these devotees, the anticipation of all the devotees here waiting for him to come. And he said, no, I have to go to the temple today. And he came. And then he said, I'll go, but nothing public. I'm just going to go and rest. And then he came and he sat with everyone in the temple room. He interacted with everyone. He just can't say no. His heart is so soft that he can't say no. Maharaj said, many years ago, this was even before there were so many disciples, he said once that, I can sense that there's always someone watching me and expecting something from me. He said all the time. He said, when I'm taking darshan of the deities, when I'm giving class, when I'm chanting japa, when I'm just walking down the hall, he said, sometimes I even walk into a bathroom and there are people standing outside, just meditating on the fact that I'm in the bathroom and I'll be coming out of the bathroom. Imagine how difficult that is, especially for someone like Maharaj, who really is, he still considers himself a hermit, he'd rather be living in a cave. We were just in Romania, and the devotees were saying, Maharaj, there are so many special places to see here. There are famous old painted monasteries, and there's this beautiful church. And then there's this cave where a hermit used to live. And then there's this, and there's this. And Maharaj was saying, there's a cave? And the devotees thought the cave is not so interesting. So they said, they weren't getting the hint. And they said, Maharaj, where would you like to go? And he said, you said there's a cave? And they said, would you like to go? He said, whatever you suggest, what would you like me to do? And they said, oh, you should go to the monastery, it's so nice. And so then he turned to Achyutapriya Prabhu and he said, Achyutapriya Prabhu, what do you suggest? He was waiting for someone to agree with him, I think. And Achyutapriya Prabhu said, I don't know, Maharaj. And he said, what does the Paramatma in your heart say, Achyutapriya Prabhu? What is Paramatma telling you right now? Where should we go? And Achyutapriya Prabhu said, my only connection to the Paramatma in my heart is through you. He said, you are the external manifestation of Paramatma in my heart, so you can tell me what Paramatma is saying. And then Maharaj, I think he said, I think the Paramatma in your heart wants to go to the cave. And we did even, actually, but the devotees still, they were so enthusiastic, they still took us to the monastery. And then the next day again, Maharaj is waiting to go. Finally, the last day we went to the cave. And it was very small. I mean, if you turn this altar upside down, it was practically like that much space. But Maharaj went inside and I was standing outside because there were not many of us, like 5, 6 of us, but just not so much space. Maharaj said, come inside. And we were all sitting inside and Maharaj was just telling stories about caves. And he was sharing how in every tradition you find that people who want to get, he said those who want to escape the I, me and mine of this world, they go to caves. And so he was telling, I don't remember why I got on this subject, but anyway, it was very funny. We were sitting in the cave and one family walked by and they had a little boy, 4 or 5 years old, and the devotees translated for us that in Romanian, the little boy said to his mother, look, mother, there's Jesus Christ and his team. But why did I start talking about the cave? Oh, because Maharaj is such an introverted person. And actually, if it was up to him, he would sit alone quietly somewhere. Even when we're with Maharaj, sometimes he doesn't speak all day. You know, that's his nature. His nature is just to be absorbed in his own meditation. But for all of us, because of our expectations, he's here, he's interacting all day long, you know, giving so much. So we can have that external reciprocation, we can have that smile or that compliment or that loving exchange. But do we want that, or do we want something deeper from the heart? Do we want Maharaj to actually be pleased with us, to be deeply pleased? It's so interesting. It's so interesting to see what pleases Maharaj and the simplicity of his appreciation. When we were just in Ukraine, Maharaj was giving class, and then in the class he said, last week someone who was very dear to me left her body. And I thought, oh no, why can't I remember? Like, I know there were 2 devotees who left their bodies, but no lady. And I couldn't understand what Maharaj, and I thought, how is this? I don't remember. And I thought, did I neglect something? Did I forget something? How do I not know that this happened? And I was getting worried. But Maharaj is actually speaking about an 8-year-old girl that he met one time a few weeks before. And Maharaj didn't know her. He didn't know her family. But the mother the mother was getting initiated, and she asked, can my daughter be initiated? She's 9 years old, and she's going to die within 4 weeks. She has cancer. And obviously a child in that condition and that age can't take vows. You know, she can't really be initiated. But, you know, I wasn't sure because Maharaj doesn't like to be asked for these things. He said, you should just make a decision. You shouldn't ask me. But my heart as a mother, maybe my heartstrings were getting pulled and I didn't know how to respond. I know she can't be initiated, but how can I say no to a mother whose daughter is dying? And so I thought so I said to the mother, can you write a letter to Maharaj and I'll give the letter to him. So she wrote a letter and I shared it with Maharaj and I explained the situation. And Maharaj said, we'll do something to make them happy. He said, you should bring them here. So they came to the house, and I was a little concerned whether the girl even knows what's happening, or is the mother in her enthusiasm pushing her. But the little girl, she was very weak. She couldn't stand up. But as soon as if any of you heard the class, Marge was sharing how as soon as she started chanting, it was like so much strength and energy. And Marge recognized that somehow, her love to chant Krishna's name. And he was acknowledging her as someone who's so dear to him because of that love for chanting Krishna's names. And her mother shared with me a little video of her. And this was the last day before her body became paralyzed. It was the last day she could chant. And and Marge was watching this video. He was so happy.